Hello, my name's Katie, and I am back reading another section of Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown. I have a slightly different setup today, so I'd love feedback if you want to share. My parents requested that I be closer to the camera and that the audio be louder. So this time, instead of using just the audio from the device I'm recording on, I'm trying to use headphones that are Bluetooth and I'm recording on Zoom. So we'll see like if the audio quality feels weird or if it's clear. So let me know if you like this better or worse than what I was doing before. I can also just record with the device audio, but closer up. So if this is a no-go, I'll try that next. Anyways, we are back on chapter, I guess there are no chapters. We're on intentional adaptation, how we change, and we're on page 67. Let's dive in. Adaptation, a change in a plant or animal that makes it better able to live in a particular place or situation. The process of changing to fit some purpose or situation, the process of adapting. Intention, the thing that you plan to do or achieve, an aim or purpose. Grounding in nature. Starling's murmuration consists of a flock moving in sync with one another, engaging in clear, consistent communication and exhibiting collective leadership and deep, deep trust. Every individual bird focuses attention on their seven closest neighbors and thus manage a larger flock cohesiveness and synchronicity at times upward of over 1 million birds. Sierra Pickett. And this is, we're in kind of a block of quotes here, so you can tell what's going on. Water is versatile. It can be big and powerful. It can quench thirst. It can be healing. It can drown us. It finds its own level always. That is, water is always seeking balance and has a place it has to go. It can be scarce. It is necessary. We're utterly, devastatingly dependent on it. It's beautiful and tragic, and it feeds us sometimes. When we hold water back, we can create power, but there is danger when we remove the dam unexpectedly. It's really flexible and adaptable. It takes the form of our containers. Bruce Lee said, "Be like water." If we can understand fully the nature of water, we can understand what we're doing here. Aisha Shillingford, Intelligent Mischief. From water, I have learned to move around and past fixed objects to reach my goal. From our winged kindred, I have learned there are times to swarm, and that such a swarm can take down even the largest and cockiest predator. But the most important lesson of all for me has been how history embeds in every living thing. The land speaks to me of a much longer time frame than the one my body understands. It reminds me that ours are generational fights that are passed down like legacy. The earth, in the way that it spins under our feet, changing while no one is looking, reminds me both that what we win today can be gone tomorrow, and what we lose today can be won tomorrow. The only constant is change. That is nature's greatest lesson to me, that change is inevitable and time is unfathomable. It means I can keep going when all seems to fail and fall around me. Nature is the source of my faith. Malkia Cyril. Humankind is still evolving in a process which will never end. This evolution moves on changing principles which are known only to eternity. How can corrupt reasoning play with such an essence? Frank Herbert, Dune. Footnote 1. If you have not read Frank Herbert's science fiction classic Dune, put this book down and go read it. Humankind is still evolving in a process which will never end. This evolution moves on changing principles which are known. Oh, I just read that. The victim of God may, through learning adaptation, become a partner of God. Octavia Butler. Intentional adaptation is the heart of emergent strategy. How we live and grow and stay purposeful in the face of constant change actually does determine both the quality of our lives and the impact that we can have when we move into action together. Many of us respond to change with fear or see it as a crisis. But note too, fear is the mind killer. Get this reference? You should if you adhered to the previous footnote, just saying. Some of us anticipate change with an almost titillating sense of stress. We spend precious time thinking about what has changed that we didn't choose or can't control, and or thinking ahead to future stress. Often this is because we aren't clear or committed about our dream destination, so instead of moving toward anything in particular, we are in nonstop reaction. First question to ask ourselves is, how do we practice increasing our ease with what is? Change happens. Change is definitely going to happen, no matter what we plan or expect or hope for or set in place. We will adapt to that change or we will become irrelevant. But this element is not about pure adaptation, which has led to every functional and dysfunctional condition we know. I'm talking about the combination of adaptation with intention, wherein the orientation and movement toward life, toward longing, is made graceful in the art of adaptation. This is the process of changing while staying in touch with our deeper purpose and longing. In movement work, I have been facilitating groups to shift from a culture of strategic planning to one of strategic intentions. What are our intentions informed by our vision? What do we need to be and do to bring our vision to pass? How do we bring those intentions to life throughout every change in every aspect of our work? This often results in groups centering work that doesn't depend on factors outside of their control, such as funders or elections, which come and go and should be well used, but not directive or debilitating. The clearer you are as a group about where you're going, the more you can relax into collaborative innovation around how to get there. You can relax into decentralization, and you want to. If the vision is only clear to one person, that person ends up trying to drive everyone toward their vision, or at minimum, control how everyone gets to the vision. That makes sense, and it's so exhausting. Decentralized work requires more trust building on the front end, but ultimately it is easier, more fluid. Most of the leaders I support in facilitation and coaching are suffering because they are not part of a group that can adapt together. They often express this as a lack of shared skills. No one is as qualified to work with me, or a lack of funding, I can't support qualified staff people. And those are definitely factors, but in the course of our work together, we often find that the deeper problem is in the relationships between the members of the group. My dream is a movement with such deep trust that we move as a murmuration, the way groups of starlings billow, dive, spin, dance collectively through the air, to avoid predators, and it also seems to pass time in the most beautiful way possible. When fish move in this way, they are shoaling. When bees and other insects move in this way, they are swarming. I love all the words for this activity. Here's how it works in a murmuration shoal swarm. Each creature is tuned into its neighbors, the creatures right around it in the formation. This might be the birds on either side or the 6 fish in each direction. There is a right relationship, a right distance between them. Too close and they crash, too far away and they can't feel the micro adaptations of their bodies, the other bodies. Each creature is shifting direction, speed, and proximity based on the information of the other creature's bodies. There is a deep trust in this, to lift because the birds around you are lifting, to live based on your collective real-time adaptations. In this way, thousands of birds or fish or bees can move together, each empowered with basic rules and a vision to live. Imagine our movements cultivating this type of trust and depth with each other, having strategic flocking in our playbooks. Adaptation reduces exhaustion. No one bears the burden alone of figuring out the next move and muscling toward it. There is an efficiency at play. Is something not working? Stop. Change. If something is working, keep doing it, learning and innovating as you go. As an individual, developing your capacity for adaptation can mean assessing your default reactions to change and whether those reactions create space for opportunity, possibility, and continuing to move toward your vision. I am not of the belief that everything happens for a reason, at least not a discernible one. It comforts me sometimes to know there is chaos, there is nonsense, but I believe that regardless of what happens, there is an opportunity to move with intention toward growth, relationship, regeneration. Now, as much as I fangirl for change, I still struggle when something that I have planned to do, to be, just so changes. Did I mention that I'm a Virgo oldest child with Aries rising and a Scorpio moon? I fight until I'm exhausted and then I finally surrender to the inevitable. I've been working on listening for the opportunity. Often this means I have to have a longer view. Time is so good, so consistently illuminating. With time, the apparent crisis becomes a massive blessing. I know this has been true in my life of missed opportunities, heartbreak, organizational shifts, the death of loved ones who were miserably and terminally ill. The sooner I can look for the opportunity, the blessing, the more efficient I am in moving toward my vision. The energy it takes to resist and bemoan the change can instead fuel positive movement forward. A few years ago, I received an arts fellowship, which included a weekend of coaching and development. Footnote 3, I received the Kresge Literary Arts Fellowship in Detroit, and the coaching and development was curated by Creative Many and Creative Capital. And one of the core messages I left with that weekend is what is easy is sustainable. Birds coast when they can. As an individual, get really good at being intentional with where you put your energy, letting go as quickly as you can of things that aren't part of your visionary life's work. Then you can give your all from a well-resourced place when the storm comes or for those last crucial miles. Nature, quote, nature has taught me that if humans don't figure out what revolution really means, nature will make the revolution despite us. Tawana Petty. This is all the miracle, adapting toward pleasure. Quote, I am letting go of pretending that I am in control. Kavitha Rao. It is easy to think everything is a miracle during a moment of external joy. Falling in love, welcoming new life into the world, celebrating a major accomplishment, seeing a wonder of the world, being part of a successful march or action. Those movements when rightness flows through my body and I feel connected to the great way, force, energy that makes us all one. What is harder is to bring my miraculous perspective to grief, to injustice, to delayed travel, to broken technology, to conflict, to change our plans, Mercury retrograde, things that can be filed under bad day or bad life. Mindful adaptation, however, makes it possible to experience the miraculous more often, if not constantly. Here's a little story about this. Once upon a time, I was offering an emergent strategy training in Boston. Footnote 4, the training was hosted by the group Intelligent Mischief, a creative design lab for social good. I was late. Generally, I am becoming a late person as I age. I don't want to sound shady, but basically I've been adapting because I was tired of being the only person on time so often. Kidding, mostly kidding. I haven't fully accepted that I need more time and slower time to live my life. I have been trying to adjust around this slower self, so on this particular morning, I'd scheduled myself to arrive an hour early. I'm going to try to tell the story without bad at math feelings. I knew that the commute to the training was usually 45 minutes, even with traffic. I left home about 15 minutes behind schedule because I was catching up with my mama. When I plugged the address into Maps, it said 1 hour, 15-minute commute. My gut made the rut-row sound. My nibbling Riyadh, May Riyadh loves Scooby-Doo, so this sound is running fresh grooves in my brain. I don't know what that word is. M-A with an accent, I-R-E with an accent, A-D. I'll have to look that up. But my mind overrode that with lots of rational options for the added time, including but not limited to traffic, the grandiose nature of Boston, how everything in life is a mystery. As I flew through the tunnels under downtown and my direction said I still had 30 minutes left, my intuition got louder. Something is wrong. But I couldn't figure out how to change the situation while moving at that speed without endangering everyone. Also, I didn't have time to be wrong. I didn't want to be late, so I kept going. I finally pulled up to what I really wanted to be the downtown SEIU building where the trainees would be waiting. Instead, it was a residential white clapboard house with laundry blowing on the line out front in a near rural enclave south of the city. My mind immediately, or finally, conceded to my gut as opposed to making an argument to go knock on the door, which I appreciated. I figured out that my error was an understandable one. There are two 26 West Streets in Boston in different neighborhoods. Only one is downtown. Now I was 30 minutes from the training, which was scheduled to start in 15 minutes. This is where I adapted toward pleasure. Well, first I yelled. One good, strong, wordless yell that filled up the car and released the tension that had been building between my mind and my gut. This is something I have been working on, engaging my anger and actually releasing it in harmless ways when it's live in me. Then I emailed and called the organizers to say I was where I was and to adjust the start time. They didn't sound stressed at all, which helped. Then I had the thought that often shifts my mood. This is all the miracle. These 30 minutes of being late to a meeting in Boston traffic are being lived by my miraculous, irreplaceable body in a dynamic and outstanding system of life moving toward life. What I mean is, it's my choice. If I spend those 30 minutes berating myself for not triple checking the directions or in some other way not being myself because most of my stress takes the shape of self attack, why don't you have a better memory? Why don't you prepare your travel better? Why aren't you more like insert superior human of the moment? Why don't you listen to your gut more? I will just show up feeling funky, lesser than, and like my precious life has been wasted. I don't want to waste any of this time. So I put on Alabama Shakes. I put Over My Head on repeat and I sang it all the way back to Boston. Quote, the quest is to be liberated from the negative, which is really our own will to nothingness. And once having said yes to the instant, the affirmation is contagious. It bursts into a chain of affirmations that knows no limit. To say yes to one instant is to say yes to all of existence. Otto Hoffman, Waking Life. Suffice it to say, I arrived at the actual SEIU building for my training feeling gloriously alive, flushed in the cheeks, laughing, clicking together the mind heels of my body and my head that can achieve enough height to click heels together. I walked into the room and everyone else was late. The rest of the day was a shape-shifting adaptation fest. Emergent strategy is something I'm still discovering, but a lot of it for me feels like tuning into the natural operating systems of this universe and being humbled as opposed to trying to barrel through and against all the change, trying to um, trying to best nature. I am learning to see human behavior, even my own mistakes, as part of a larger natural order. I'm wondering where I have agency, where I'm moving, and where I'm being moved. I keep making decisions and declarations about my life, and then that larger force deftly, elegantly adjusts me on my path. I keep coming back to response and reaction as the place where I have the most agency, where, as Octavia puts it, I can shape God. I'm moving toward the horizon of the end of my life. I'm generating as much liberation as I can on that journey. I choose what to embody, what to long for, even as the horizon shifts before me. The adaptation is up to me. The laughter between grieving friends, the justice of advancing a righteous anger, the first moments of surrender into new love, the opportunity inside of apparent failure. How often, how quickly can I become aware of the miraculous nature of the moment I am in and adapt toward the pleasure available in that awareness? Quote, your life is your spiritual path. Don't be quick to abandon it for bigger and better experiences. You are getting exactly the experiences you need to grow. If your growth seems to be slow or uneventful for you, it's because you have not fully embraced the situations and relationships at hand. Know the self is to allow everything, to embrace the totality of who we are, all that we think and feel, all that we fear, all that we love. Paul Farini, found on a sign on the laundry house at Kalani, Big Island, Hawaii. Excerpt from A Framework on Adaptation. What follows is an excerpt from a piece Movement Generation is developing on adaptation for movements. It feels like a frame that can become common language for looking at the changes we're experiencing. Movement Generation was referenced earlier at the political home of Gopal Dayaneni. It's a circle of humble geniuses studying and teaching complexity, resilience, and organizing in a backyard garden in Oakland. Footnote 5, visit movementgeneration.org to learn everything you need to know to live. Instability has become a defining feature of our time. In many ways, the instability is the new landscape of social struggle. It is useful to classify the economic and ecological disruptions that make up this new normal of instability into two groups, shocks and slides. Shocks present themselves as acute moments of disruption. These are, for example, market crashes, huge disasters, and uprisings. Slides, on the other hand, are incremental by nature. They can be catastrophic, but they are not experienced as acute. Sea level rise is a slide. Rising unemployment is a slide. The rising costs of food and energy are a slide. While they share a set of root causes, the scale, pace, and implications of shocks and slides differ, and therefore require different responses by social movements. One of our key roles as social movements must be to harness the shocks and direct the slides, all toward achieving the systemic, cultural, and psychic shifts we need to navigate the changes with the greatest equity, resilience, and ecological restoration possible. We define a shift as political, social, economic, and/or cultural transformation. From our perspective, we want shifts in the direction of ecological resilience and social equity as an imperative. We believe that shifts can emerge from collective aha moments when social movements awaken the popular imagination to new possibilities and spark social action. And we are arguing that the coming shocks and slides, if we anticipate and prepare for them properly, can be key opportunities to spark these aha moments. Shifts also result from well-organized communities creating new institutions that meet people's needs as responses to the shocks and slides better than the dominant systems can, such as food sovereignty projects, collectivized housing systems, cooperative economics, time banks, worker co-ops, food shares, community-based restorative justice projects, etc. Quote, nature has taught me about fluid adaptability, about not only weathering storms, but using howling winds to spread seeds wide, torrential rains to nurture roots so they can grow deeper and stronger. Nature has taught me that a storm can be used to clear cut branches that are dying, to let go of that which was keeping us from growing in new directions. These are lessons we need for organizing. As Octavia taught us, the only lasting truth is change. We will face social and political storms we could not even imagine. The question becomes not just how do we survive them, but how do we prepare so when we do suddenly find ourselves in the midst of an unexpected onslaught, we can capture the potential, the possibilities inherent in the chaos and ride it like dawn skimming the horizon. Polita Imaricia, co-editor of Octavia's Brood. Quote, we are Earthseed, the life that perceives itself, changing. Octavia Butler, Earthseed. Adaptation example, how to facilitate 200 funders and organizers. Footnote 6. Notes from my facilitation debrief of the EDGE, capital EDGE, funders gathering, April 2016. And there's this picture, less on point, more on purpose. 1. For the better part of a year, plan a meeting for 110 funders of social and environmental justice. 2. 2 days before the meeting, learn that the registration has boomed or not been closed, and the number of participants has doubled. The new number of mostly movement partners, organizers, not funders. The new numbers are mostly movement partners, organizers, not funders. 3. On day 1, name these practices gathered and or developed over many months for this experiment to the overflowing room. Less prep, more presence, low ego, high impact, building alignment, not selling ideas. Relationship is the measure of our strength. This will be as amazing as you are. Trust your own work with each other. Water. Four, have plenary sessions. Plenary simply means that everyone is in one room. But inspire people and point toward the work that exemplifies the vision of the meeting. Be amazed when speakers respect the amount of time they are given and deliver powerful messages in that container. 5, have 7 planned breakout labs and intimate self-guided spaces where participants can deepen relationships and strategy together by working through shared questions and content. Each lab assign note takers who will feed the content back to the meeting organizers for weaving throughout the meeting. Have an expectation that rebels We'll create 2 or 3 more labs, no matter how much planning and thought goes into selecting the 7 labs. Plan for groups of 10 to 15 people to struggle and deepen together in these labs. Be flabbergasted when no one rebels. Because of new numbers and lack of rebellion, support groups of up to 50 people to instantly flounder together, then innovate. Forget to set up a proper orientation for the note takers. Hijinks ensue. 6. After the first lab session, invite everyone to be facilitative. Keep returning to questions. Notice who isn't speaking. Let others speak your truth. 7. Encourage innovation and intervention. Do hear what we are seeking to do in the world. Redirect the energy towards solutions of those who are coming to tell me how badly it's going. 8. Interventions, adaptations, and lessons include pre-identify facilitators for process people for each session, or process people for each session. Have an info call before proposals for sessions are accepted. Also have a mandatory call to orient facilitators or leaders of session. More curation rather than simply combining sessions. More deliberate time outside in nature. Booking a venue aligned with systems changed. Be more humane with the venue and event staff. Set group agreements before diving into content. Offer agreements to the lab to practice in their smaller groups. Have agenda reflect focus on building relationships. Web information and social media for participants, speed dating. Graphic facilitation takes care of a lot of ways of knowing. Invite artists to capture outcomes. Leadership of women is non-negotiable and shifts the results, particularly in the funding world. Invite more detailed conversations on how things work or could work in real world. Drop from theory into practice and action. Adequate translation interpretation so that everyone can truly participate. Having caucus work can really help, but if it's on side, it means extra work. Plan for how to weave it in. Instead of introductions at the beginning, which no one will remember, have participants say their name as they speak in the room. Use small group or fishbowl technology in the labs. All change is not systems change or even political change. Sometimes positive change upholds the status quo. We are not here to feel good all the time, but to do good. Remind participants that change happens at a pace relevant for the people involved. We are not ahead of or behind each other. We are in a million experiments. Participants move between labs, but invite them to notice if they are shifting away from something that is their responsibility. 9. Facilitator learnings. Relax under pressure. There is no form of freaking out that will make this job less challenging. Have a few trusted people / a team to talk to about the challenges. Hold a hard line around the self-care basics of sleep and food. Continually remind people that on the last day we will get clear on what practices we are taking back into our work and institutions and how we are turning toward new collective action. Have folks partner and share with each other what they are taking home. Instead of a list of general tasks that no one claims, generate the next steps from what the people in the room are willing to commit to. Write up these learnings and share them widely and with much humility and gratitude to everyone who participated in this grand experiment. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Next, we'll talk about interdependence and decentralization, which sounds fabulous. I hope you enjoyed this section of Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Maree Brown, and I'll talk to you again soon. And let me know how the audio video is versus the last one if you want to comment. I'm curious to see myself how it turns out. So have a good one.